Hamas may be agreeing to disarm. Sounds unthinkable, but it may be happening sooner than we think. Heavy weapons, tunnels, weapons factories, everything is on the table. There's just one condition, not to Israel. After years of war and devastation, is Gaza finally on the edge of a deal? According to a report by an Israeli publication, Palestinian sources familiar with the negotiations have claimed that Hamas is expected to soon announce that it has agreed in principle to disarm and hand over its heavy weapons to a third party. The proposed arrangement would cover Hamas's heavy weapons and could also include the transfer of parts of its tunnel network and weapons production facilities to the Technocratic Palestinian Committee, also known as NCAG.
How the handover would be implemented remains unclear, as do the categories of weapons it would cover and its overall scope. The sides have yet to reach a final agreement, and discussions are continuing over the definition of the weapons to be covered by the arrangement.
The sources said Hamas representatives reached the understanding during talks with Egyptian intelligence officials in Cairo, where the issue of disarmament was the central focus of the discussions. The negotiations were held as part of broader efforts to advance indirect talks with Israel under US President Donald Trump's proposed plan for post-war Gaza. However, the sources cautioned that key details remain unresolved, including how the handover would be implemented, which categories of weapons would be covered, and the overall scope of the agreement. Reportedly, no final deal has been reached, and negotiations are continuing over the terms of the proposed arrangement. However, according to Palestinian sources, one of the main sticking points in the talks is determining exactly which weapon systems Hamas would be required to surrender. The current discussions are focused primarily on heavy and strategic military capabilities, including long-range rockets, heavy mortars, anti-tank missiles, and other advanced weapons, along with weapons manufacturing sites, storage facilities, and parts of Hamas's tunnel network. Hamas is resisting broader language such as resistance infrastructure, arguing that the term could also include civilian or dual-use facilities. Instead, the group is pushing for definitions that clearly distinguish military assets from civilian infrastructure. Alongside the disarmament issue, Palestinian sources in Gaza and Cairo say Hamas is also seeking guarantees that its civil servants would be integrated into the new administrative structure expected to govern the Gaza Strip. The sources stress that no final agreement has been reached, and negotiations remain ongoing over the scope of the proposed weapons handover, implementation mechanisms, and future governance arrangements. Hamas has maintained authority over western and central Gaza through its internal security apparatus, including the Arrow unit, which has allegedly carried out public executions of suspected collaborators, targeted beatings of rivals, and crackdowns on competing clans. The reported negotiations come as Israel prepares to launch a pilot program to relocate tens of thousands of Gazans into temporary housing inside an Israeli-controlled security zone, a move intended to facilitate stabilization efforts while reducing Hamas's influence over the civilian population. Earlier, Israel's Security Cabinet approved the deployment of an international stabilization force to Gaza, expected to include around 200 personnel from what officials described as friendly countries. Now will these negotiations bear any real results? Or the plight of the Palestinians continues, remains to be seen.